And we're back, we're back, we're back, we're back. We're back, guys. Apologies for the technical difficulties. Obviously, we're lagging. Want to make sure that the stream is running effectively for you guys. So thank you for the heads up on that. We're going to dive right back into the chart so that way we don't miss a beat as far as what we're looking at. We did tap into the 618 area over here. We did lose this V shape per se, if you will. We did make another low here in this area, but still holding this area. So for me, I'm going to be just adjusting the shoulder. My shoulder would look like that. I know it's kind of funky for some, but that's essentially what it'll look like. A lot of the orders are already picked up, already in that. So let me make sure I get this stream out to you guys. There we go. No, what's up, Patrick? What's up? What's up? What's up? All right, let's get back on these charts real quick. So we tapped right into this. Let me get rid of this line. That line's a little in the way. There's actually two of them. I don't know why I have two of them, but I have two of them. We tapped right into that 618 level over here. I had a 0.5 over here. I removed the 0.5 because we violated the 0.5. We tapped right into the 618 right over here. So really, we need to see V-shaped recovery for just this pattern to be valid. You know, we do have this setup from a higher time frame, which sits right over here. This essentially is a C pony. So this kind of puts us in the same area as wave B, same areas for inverted head and shoulders. 26, 23 is where I'd be looking for TPs. Everything is posted inside of the corner, inside of the stream playback section for you guys. So if you guys are not up to speed, it's right over here. Let me go ahead and share that with you guys. Where'd it go? Here it is. There we go. They're all right inside of here, guys. TPs, everything's already written out for you well in advance. So 10:32, so about an hour before this stream went live, I was posting some of the ideas that are in there. So all you got to do is just really go into that corner, into that forum, and you can see all the setups that we're going to be taking live inside here. What's up, Lazy? Good morning, good morning. Hope all is well. God bless you. God bless you. What's up, Sniper? What's up, Big Dog? Good morning. Good morning. So I am longing on these moves. You know, I was pretty explicit this morning, about an hour before the stream took place, what I was looking for, what levels, areas I'm looking to hold. In the event that this gets invalidated, you know, we're still inside of that wave 2. So essentially, you know, we're still looking for something like this. You know, was this my peak? This was my peak. You know, either here or here or here, one of those levels. So just operating level to level. and then I'd look for like a wave 3. Actually, wave 3 would probably be more intensive, but in the event it's a short impulse, you know, that's kind of what I'm looking for. That would be like the wave B area for the C pony. That would be the full measured move for an inverted head and shoulders. So I'm operating from a 4-hour and a 450 as well at the same time. I don't know why the business scene is not playing out for us. I need to fix something here. It's more accurate, and I need to get tape surf on here for liquidity. There we go. That works. Okay. We're gelling. We're gelling. CoinGlass is slow on pulling data, or at least giving me the data that I'm looking for. I'm waiting for the data to upload here so we can kind of recap what I was just looking at. You know, I just know this from memory. You know, there's small liquidity pockets that sit beyond 1700, right? So if we continue to flush and this wave count gets invalidated, right? Let's say we lose 1792, we lose 1744 inside of those areas. The next levels are going to be in the 1600s. That's the most obvious, all the way down to the 1500s if we get that flush down to the downside. So that's where the liquidity would be sitting. It's on easy mode for bears altogether, just full disclosure. But the deeper we go, the higher we're going to go at the end of the day. So I'm just going to be prepared for that. I've closed majority of all my shorts. Actually, I've closed all my shorts on ETH. So really just hunting for those longs and playing it level to level. Still hold it like that. It looks a little bit more. Let's still work with that. All right. So ADX is rising. You got DI negative still underneath the baseline. If this DI negative crosses over this baseline right over here, let's take a look at volume real quick. What does volume look like for us? Yeah, see, we got a push down with a softer volume. Softer volume. What's up, Danny? Good morning, brother. Good morning, brother. Glad that you're here. Yeah, you close yours too, Stetson. Yeah, it's all good. We just find better entries on longs. We do have a red dot that's printing right over here. That is a little concerning to me in that regard. But this kind of points towards deviation. All right, so that's what I'm viewing this and how I'm viewing that. And then with the trend running into an exhaustion area right over here from an imbalance, you know, it doesn't go beyond 100%. So, you know, once we start tapping into that 100%, whether it be bullish or bearish, this fuchsia pink, whatever color that you're looking at here, this is essentially the bearish trend, right? So bearish trend on the 4 hours running into an exhaustion level. One thing I was pointing out just from even TD9 sequential, you know, the lead up phase is printing a 13 here inside this area. So let's just make the assumption, you know, we can get some type of bounce back over the next session, which would be over the course of the next 7 hours. So it would take some time for this. So it's not going to be something that's just going to happen just like that. I believe that we'd kind of float around inside of these areas, maybe even tap into this trend line right over here, which is right around 1871 inside that zone. And that would put us, let's go 4 back, one in the next session, of course, 1, 2, 3, 4. This is going to be the area right where this doji was at, which is right around like 1968. That's the level that needs to be flipped in order for for the setup phase to change. If it was this current session, you know, then that's a big if, a big giant if, just because we don't have any of the bullish volume stepping in. If you go 1, 2, 3, 4, relatively the same area, right? You're looking at this 1968 area as far as maintaining itself to change that setup phase. So if we can get a print higher than that, and then the next following session print higher than that, then I believe that we've hit local bottoms, which would have been right over here. Local bottoms here inside this zone, not this area. Local bottom here. We'll get our push-ups to the upside, and then we have our levels that we're looking at. You know, we have 2600 on the map. We have 2900 on the map, and then we have 3400s in the map. I'm really going to be hawking, for lack of better terminology, the 26-23 area, because that was a key area of support for us when we had that dip down inside of November. So that's going to be a key area to be retested for us. In the event that we start rejecting off of that area, now it's going to be flipping what was support into resistance. So then I'd be looking for short opportunities, head shorts inside that area, and then looking at TPs inside that zone. Yeah, all the levels, everything's inside of Discord already. I'll just kind of reiterate this for you guys. If you go back into Discord and you look under the live stream playback section, the live stream playback section has all the ideas from first thing this morning. What I was looking at in the event that it's invalidated, right? Looking at the deeper fib zones, these are the deeper fib zones that I'm looking at. If we lose those levels, then I will post some levels for us. But right now, I want to operate off of what we have currently right now. So these are all the ideas that are already posted inside here. Right, running to what the stop loss is going to be, what the TP levels are going to be. If we can hold this 1897 through 1893 level, which we're right here at this 1897.91 level, which is the 618. You know, want to see if that can hold. If you know we lose those levels, I do have a tighter stop loss, but it doesn't negate that these levels don't come to fruition, which is 1839 to 1792. And if you go over to my corner, which you guys have access to, there's already a setup that's already in there for you guys. There's a C pony that essentially that we're utilizing, which that's the harmonic that I'm alluding to inside of the playback section. It's based off of a 450. Invalidation would be, you know, going below 1740. TPs are relatively the same, still that 2630, 2626 area, 2949, and 3336. Those areas are still going to remain the same. So all of that is in there for you guys. Quick, easy, something that you can grab, something that you can look at. You can actually just watch the playbacks and follow along with me as far as what I'm doing. Trying to make it easy for you guys to navigate at the end of the day. Actually, what I'll do here is I'll share this setup inside of the stream playback section, just so you guys have for reference. So everything is inside there. If you're new to the channel here, the Discord is posted inside of the description where I'm trading, because there are trading bonuses through Bitfinex right now. Hopefully you guys can participate in that. We are running a campaign through the month of March. It started on February, back on the 3rd, and we're running it all the way through March. When you do a deposit of 150 or more, you'll be upgraded to a VIP 3 status, so you have lower fees, roughly around 30% discount off of fees. And then if you hold your deposit inside your trading account for 72 hours or more, then you'll start receiving trading bonuses. As you deposit more, your trading bonuses start to increase. So if you don't have access to the campaign, that's going to be inside of the announcements section for us. So make sure that you're registered for that. So that way you can take advantage of, trading bonuses, discount fees, things of that nature. If you already are utilizing the referral link through Bitfinex, you've been on there, you've already done your deposit, you've been there for a couple days, and you still don't see your VIP status that has been upgraded, please send me a DM. We work side by side with Bitfinex. They're actually inside of our server, so we can work directly with them. Say, hey, this person still hasn't been upgraded, and it usually takes me about an hour or two, just depending on the time when we send the message to them, for them to upgrade that user. So it's one of the benefits that we have inside of our server. We have quick customer service access. I don't know why this music is lagging, but now the music's lagging. So it's pick your poison, Saint. You want your stream to lag or you want your music to lag? I'll take the music to lag any day of the week. BTC 65. All right. Perfect world, we want to see 1897, that 618 fib level. We want to see it maintain itself. It's relatively a strong fib. We do have a lot of time here though, right? We have like 3 hours left inside of this current session. So let's go to a 34-minute real quick. Let's take a look at what that looks like. That was an impulse that came down. We're on a key date from a fib zone perspective. This gets adjusted. Maybe I could actually adjust this over. Bring it down to this level right over here. But then that's going to extend my wave D out further. It's not going to be that sharp. That would probably extend me out to these zones, because that obviously that doesn't make any sense. And where does that put us? The 19th? And it's a lower time frame. I could actually play around with this too. Could actually do something similar to that, but I'm going to keep it the way I had it for right now, because I don't believe pivots unless I have a pivot there. Hold on. Yeah, see, I have a pivot here and I have a pivot there, so that's still valid. I go there. Let's see if 618 can hold. That's really what it comes down to, is if 618 can hold. 618, we lose 618, then it's on to the next level. All these right over here would be considered bullish retests. It becomes invalidated when we break below this area. Oh, Under Armour store, bro. Under Armour. I forgot. I actually think I got it in Tampa. Yeah, I think it was it in Tampa? I think it was in Tampa. But the Under Armour store. That's where I got it from. You like it? Thanks, bro. Hey Omar, if you read the post, nothing has changed. If there's something that's changed inside there, I'll post it inside there, buddy. It's already picked up one of the orders as of right now. My average is just a little bit over where we're currently at right now. I'm at like 1909. I have orders coming all the way down to like 1883. Yeah, music again. It's one or the other. It's one or the other. There you go. Drives me wild when there's a dead silence. Yeah, CoinGlass is still not loading. I don't know what's up with CoinGlass right now. But it's not giving us the data that we're looking for. Go to 8 hours, see if that helps. Nope, not either. That whale that we've been tracking. This whale that we've been tracking. Jeez Louise. These went from 125 down to 111. I don't think Hyperbot's probably going to do the same thing. Let's see if it loads. He did de-risked more. He went from 125 down to 115 down to 111. Now he's at 108. 8 million in the red. The guy refuses to close. Ballsy. Very, very ballsy. Yeah, we got a block that sits right here at 1906. And then we have another block that sits right here at 1900. And then the top of that, 1914. This was 2030, 2043 earlier. But obviously that push down completely took that out. So we'll see. Just heavy dosage of patience here, guys. Heavy dosage of patience. At least that's what I'm doing. That's where I'm at right now. Oh boy. So I want to help you as much as I can, man. And I kind of feel like I'm repeating myself in this regard. We're going to operate from all of the levels. If we're inside of a wave 2, the fib levels that you see are the fib levels that we're going to be looking for entry. If those fib levels get violated, then price action has sunk below 1744. If those fib levels 618, 0.76, 0.88, 0.93, if any of those levels hold, then you're inside of a wave 2. You're a C pony in the sense of harmonic. That plays out. That's where we're at, buddy. It's pretty detailed in there. I'm not singling you out, but every time I run these streams, I feel like I'm running these streams just for you. So I'm trying to be patient here in that regard and give you the most educational content that you could possibly have. But you got to kind of sit back and read what I post and have an understanding of that. I try to be as detailed as I can before the stream begins, so that way you have a map and a navigation. I've even posted some of the limit orders there for you with the stop losses that are in there. The TPs are posted in there. But the questions are repetitive, just tells me you're not reading it. You're not reading it at all. So it makes me repeating this more on the annoyance level versus me wanting to help. And those are the things that make me want to drop the stream altogether. So please don't be the bad apple. Don't spoil it for everybody. Yeah, we will.
Invincible.
You got orders building at 1850. You got strong orders right at 1800. Psychological level right at 1800. And so you got orders sitting at 2250. What does liquidity look like here? Yeah, the next major pocket, if we swept that low, would be 1711. You know, smaller, thinner pockets here, 33%, 30%, 37%, 30%. So you have 4 million, 3 million, 4 million, 3 million at all those fib levels. Right now, we're testing the 1897. Just below that, we have, what price is that? 1881.61, roughly around 4 million in volume that sits in that zone. It's a thinner block. Clearly there's stronger liquidity to the upside. Levels, really beginning right around 2219 inside that area. And just before that, you have a 91% pocket that sits right around 2185. Those levels, in my opinion, those would act as fuel to move higher to the upside. All right, but if ETH just wants to say, hey, you know what, I want to go and collect more liquidity to the downside, then these are the levels that I'm going to be looking at targeting. So as we approach these levels right over here, I'd start building some long. So maybe we do sweep this low right over here, but we tap right into this liquidity pocket that sits right around like 17 and some change. So from like a cooldown perspective on higher time frames, we have pretty aggressive cooldowns that sit inside this zone right now as is. So I'd be targeting that. Then my wave one count would be invalidated, or excuse me, my wave two count would be invalidated. Then it's just rinse and repeat. Once we find this, if that's going to be the local bottom in that regard, then we're going to wait for a wave one impulse, wait for a wave two, and then we'll say a wave three. So essentially we would have to remeasure all together. But to the upside makes a lot more sense to me personally if we're going to go to lower, going into September, October. September, October, I believe that's when we'd actually find our bottom. I pegging ETH to be around 1100 down to even like a 3-digit ETH somewhere around like 900s. Super bearish would be somewhere around like a 0.236 fib level based on the entire structure being somewhere on like $446, which it gets kind of scary. Bitmap had two scenarios for ETH going into 2026. Either it's going to tap into new all-time highs inside the year, or it's going to go to $336. That was their targets that they had. The new all-time highs that they had were pretty audacious, to be quite honest. They were sitting somewhere north of like 10K, north of 10K. And believe me, Bitmap needs it right now because Tom Lee is sitting somewhere. Man, where is he sitting right now? Hold on, I gotta log in to get into that. So hold on, let me fix something on my side. Yeah, I'll take a look at here at Sol in a few minutes. I actually have Sol on my chart. Let me just log in real quick. All right, let's go back to these public portfolios. I'm already logged in. Why do you have... Oh my gosh. And now it's going to take forever in a day to load. Awesome. Yeah, I'll take a look at Sol here now. Sol sits right over here. Very similar to everything else right now. I believe, Sol is sitting inside of a wave C right now. It does have more downside down the road, somewhere around like 43. But I believe wave C, or if you're looking at it from a bearish wave 3, I believe wave 3 is kind of finishing up here in this area. Extension levels for wave C, sitting somewhere around 1.272 down to 1.414. Maybe it sweeps, the 69 level and sweeps into, 59 inside those areas. But relatively, those are going to be the areas that I'd be looking at. Yeah, Bitfinex looks like it's moving. Maybe it is. Maybe it is stagnant. I don't know why it's doing all that. Every browser right now is running stagnant. There we go. Yeah, it's just this trend line right over here. I kind of want to see that it maintains itself. You may see sweeps down below it as long as it pulls right back up, because there was a pretty significant support area here, which derived from right over here. Bounce, bounce, bounce. So it's a long-term trend line. I really want to see that it can maintain itself from that perspective. I think I'm on a 4-hour here. I'll come down to a 15-minute. But same thing for Sol, right? Like very similar. You have your ADX from a daily perspective that's sitting, beyond 80. That's a very, very strong trend. The imbalance is showing a very, very strong trend. You do have green dots that are printing on the daily, and you have your DI positive that's sitting at relatively all-time lows from a DMI perspective, right? DI positive, if you just kind of look left, anytime DI positive gets to these areas, you get a little bounce back in that area, whether it be short-term relief, whether it be long-term relief, that's up for debate as price action develops. My point being to that is that when DI positive gets to these levels, it starts to say, hey, you know what, I'm beyond laying flat on the ground. I need to start pulling back up a little bit. And then the opposite would be saying, bears are pushing, but they're going to run themselves ragged in the sense of exhaustion. So a small relief, so that way bulls or buyers, they can get back in. Maybe you can feel a little bit euphoric, if you want to call it market manipulation, or however you want to label it, where then bears can take a step back and say, okay, well, we still have control. We're still in a dominance position, but we're just going to take a breather here for a little bit, and then we're going to mash on the gas pedal a little bit more. If they just keep mashing on the gas pedal here, then that allows for a higher relief for us to be targeting. So that's what I'm looking at for Sol. We're a River, man. River is so impressive. Still waiting on that one. I haven't touched it. Scissors in our group, I mean, he is the River King. He has been nailing that one. So shout out to him. If you guys are looking to long River, he's definitely the guy that you want to be picking his brain about. I'm just being patient with it. I'm going to wait for these levels to appear. If I don't get any of these levels, then I'm going to be looking for the short when we get into these zones, 45 all the way up to 53 inside these areas. That's what I'd be looking for. What's up, boy? How you doing, brother? BTC longs. I really want to see BTC kind of hold this area, hold this pattern. All right, I want to see that it can maintain this level. This is viewed from a weekly perspective, so I want to see it kind of hold these zones. All right, to give this setup some life. This is an anti-butterfly. So, anything that's inside here, if you want to drill down to lower time frames and look for, better entries inside the zone, that's what I'd be looking for. I longed literally 6186 somewhere inside this area. $60 and some change. 60.80. So I'm just kind of holding mine. I want to see if I can get a pullback above here, above this level, 66,575, and then I can get a bounce off of that. Then I'd be looking to add back to my position. Yeah, that's his mistress. Yeah, he definitely is. Sorry, Sniper, I missed your question, brother. Yeah, so like if I take a level off and then if I want to leave it back on, and if I'm start rejecting that area, if I put the 0.5 back on and I start rejecting the 0.5, then I know that the probabilities of me going beyond the 618 kind of grow. Those probabilities grow. So then for me, let's say I did long a 618, but then I'm rejecting off of a 0.5, then I would start to de-risk in that area. No, you're not thinking too much into it. That's the proper way to think when you're utilizing fibs. You have a previous, because that fib level was support. So for example, 0.382 acted as a small point of support for us here in this area. Boom, 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 boom. you know, this was the 0.382. Actually, I'll put it on just so you guys can see it, just for good measure, right? See, acted as a small point of support. Boom, boom, boom. Then we sank below it. Then we started rejecting it, rejecting it, rejecting it. And so now if we look at 0.5, let's just throw that on again for good measure. All right, we just violated it now. So the next move, the next session, if we start rejecting that area, then I would be de-risking and then looking at the 0.76 or maybe inside of this pocket for a level. But we have thin blocks that sit inside that zone. The real thicker zones, for lack of better terminology, sit right around here, 1703. Down to roughly 1674. And if you're looking at CoinGlass, I don't know why CoinGlass is not loading on my side, but CoinGlass, there's a liquidity pocket that sits right at that level, right around like 1674 down to 1656. No soul. Music again, stopping, which is annoying. Yeah, I look at USDT. I haven't looked at USDT yet today. Yeah, USDT. I have a personal vendetta against USDT right now. That feels like a bear trap. Boom, boom. Just needed to come on down here. I'm not being greedy with USDT. Just want USDT to test these levels right over here. You know, 6.438. I believe there's an imbalance that sits right underneath here on lower time frames. I believe like on the 610. I'm viewing this from a daily right now. Actually, it was a 144, if I remember correctly. Yeah, see, it sits right over here. We have some imbalance that sit right here inside that zone. So ideally, I would love to see USDT get to those levels. And then, you know, that will give us our relief, our short-term relief. And then we can head back down again because USDT, I don't believe USDT is done at all. USDT, I believe USDT will go for an all-time high this year. In 2022 bear market, USDT kind of did the same thing, right? Hit a high, retracement, and then hit another high right over here. So that's kind of what I'm looking for on this current pattern, right? This current setup, I'm looking for USDT to do something similar to that, right? Because you do have a wave 3, you're looking for like an ABC here in this area. So I'm just making the assumption here, not saying that it is, that's what it is, but A, and then wherever B is going to be, and then we get a C. We can actually measure that out. And let's just see where we're at. I'll do that here now. Where's the low of that? Here's the low. And so we're tapping into 0.5 right now. Remove 0.88, so it's not confusing. And wave B could always be higher. That's not outside of the norm, but these are the levels that I'm looking at for USDT right now. We tapped into 0.5 once already, right here. If it decides to go higher, this is the next level for USDT, which would push ETH a little bit lower. Next level, next level. In a perfect world. Yeah, 91%. There was a sell signal that did print. Yeah, it did print right over here, but came back up again. ADX is sitting at, what are you sitting at right now? 80 and some change. Yeah, see, I had a peak. I made a small little valley. Yeah, this is going into bear market, right? All-time highs. That's an all-time high for it right there, 86. And right now it peaked out right around 82. So ideally, I would want to see, this is what I'm looking for in a perfect world. Now let's flip this over. Let's get some of those extension levels into view. I'd be very disappointed if it came to here. I'm not gonna lie, I'd be disappointed. But this is kind of what I'm looking for. Anywhere in between here. So maybe I don't come to my 0.5, but I end up somewhere inside of this golden pocket. Where would that measurement be? That would land me somewhere right around here. Clear this fair value gap, clear this fair value gap. Come in here to this level. There's a significant area of support here. We can see. If I could actually put that line up correctly, that'd be fantastic. Right over there. That would be the ideal target. And that should put ETH, I'd say 2600s, maybe 2900s. We really got to see how much momentum we have behind this relief rally, right? So it's difficult to pinpoint, say, okay, well, if USDT goes to this level, ETH will definitely be this number, right? Like, we don't know how many buyers are actually going to be sitting in Ethereum. We don't know how much rotation out of stable coins, because USDT is going to ultimately represent stable coins. How many of them would be rotating into more high risk assets like BTC and Ethereum? So that's kind of what we're looking at right now. I'll flip this back over just so we have for future reference when we come back and stream again down the road, seeing if those levels can hold. But see, it tapped right into that 0.5 area quite well, as ETH tapped into this 618 area quite well. I'm gonna take the dynamics off. We already, excuse me, we have an idea. 2224. That would be so weak if it went to 2224 and then it came back crashing down. Yeah, but 2224 should be good. Yeah, I mean, if I look at ETH on a, like a 13-minute or 15-minute here in that area, we got good cooldowns. This is kind of what I look for. Let me take this volume off real quick. Yeah, this is essentially kind of what I'm looking for. I'm looking for candles like these to print. And then we want to start seeing red candles to the upside. Is that a diving board? No, that wasn't. No, I don't have a diving board there. A little tiny one right here. Boom, boom. But that's a small one, and we already reclaimed that one, so that would be invalidated. Hold on, guys. The lack of music is quite frustrating for me. Then we can kind of look at not kind of, but we can look at some order blocks as well as see what order blocks are developing. I also want to check market structure. Yeah, so we have one breaker structure right over here at the 0.5. Another breaker structure would be right over here, 1870, so like 1839. I think someone was just calling for that now. Yeah, Monkey was saying 1837, 34 minutes. So it'd be the next level that would be looking at. Usually, we're only getting one, but one, two, we only have one. So maybe we get a second one that sits inside this area, right along this trend line right over here. Because maybe if we come down, I didn't mean to do that. Maybe we come down to, if I can actually grab that, fantastic. This trend line right over here, that's really what I'm looking at. We'll just move this over like that. It's funky, but that's what I'd be looking at. And now the music completely stops on my side. All right. Let's drill down here to a 13-minute. Yeah, 13-minute. That's what I was looking at. Let's actually look at a 30-minute here. You got some order blocks that developed there, right on that 6.8 area. So you got a good amount of blocks that sit there. Next block is right around like 2,000 and some change. What's beyond that? That's a 3-minute. So first level, most likely take some TPs inside that zone. And we got all this open space that sits right over here. That should give us a pivot. I mean, if that maintains itself, it should give us a pivot. Should give us a pivot. You're welcome, Sniper. You're very welcome. Hopefully you guys are getting some good educational content out of here. I get a couple of DMs, per the day, or even through the night. People want access to educational content, things of that nature, and we do have that inside of our server. Just so you guys are aware, we have VIP status for VIP access. Inside there, you'll actually see all the different tools that I utilize in tutorials, and then you have the option to say, hey, you know what, I actually want to utilize those. How do I gain access to those? But just a quick review for you guys, because I'm working on putting a welcome video for you guys. Why isn't this loading again? Oh, probably because I have like that. Duh. My bad. If you want to come over to, you'll see tutorials. Let's see, where do I have tutorials? Right over here. So all the tools that I utilize are going to be inside here. There's YouTube videos that are in there, from DMI to the TD9 sequential with the heat maps to the liquidity profile. So I'm still building out this section for you guys, kind of giving you an idea, but there's additional content inside of the training grounds. These have VIP access as well too. And you can see all the fib levels that I utilize. There's price action. This is just taking a while to load. There's volume dynamics, liquidity zones, understanding harmonics, LA waves, things of that nature. This is all written content. There's no real videos that are behind these, but in the event that you wanted to study about those, you can click on this link here, and there's tons and tons and tons and tons of books, like over 1,000 different books that are in there that you can gain access to. You can read about LA wave thesis. You can read about harmonics. So this is, free educational stuff for you guys. And here I kind of put the written information for you guys, so that way you want to study it. If you want, go a little bit further, go a little bit deeper, we do have the classes that are sit over here. That's the private mentorship that's involved. And there's information that's alluding to that inside of the private sector. So once you hit VIP inside of the server, you'll see all this information as far as how to gain access to that. If you're curious as to how to get VIP access just inside the server, just go to the VIP access channel and you'll see what the steps are. Once you've created your UID account, you fill out the quick form, then you'll have access to it. Make sure that you guys do have all your roles that are associated. So all of these setups that I put during these live streams, I do post them inside, as I mentioned before, inside of the live stream section right over here. So as we go, throughout the course of the day, then I'll start posting all these ideas, what my limits are, what my stop losses are, what my ideas and what my plan of attack is before the stream actually goes live. If it comes to fruition, it comes to fruition, but you'll see the invalidations, you'll see what the stop losses look like, and you'll see what the TPs look like. So we're doing our absolute best to make it worth your while not only to be part of the server, but to have that granted access that's inside there. So there's educational content for everybody, all walks of life. Newbies, intermediate, advanced, somebody maybe just wants a refresher in some areas. And this music is absolutely killing me, guys. It's killing me. It doesn't have me signed in? What? I am signed in, bro. What are you talking about? Something's fishy in the water. Something's fishy in the water. A man's just trying to listen to some good music while he streams. That's not much that I'm asking for, and that's not much. I may have to just go to a browser to play that music that I'm looking for. It's all good. You guys can listen to my sexy voice. Welcome to Crypto Thursdays. And we are going to start picking up some free classes for you guys. I'll be frank. I've been kind of slacking on that, just between the streams and building the server out. At the end of the day, on some days I'm just tapped out. You know, talking for 4, 6, 7 hours straight. I'm just kind of tapped out. But I am working my way back to that. I think once we have some premium traders in there with their own corners, things of that nature, it takes a little bit off of my shoulders, where there's other brilliant minds out there that are giving good setups, whether I agree with them or not, or they agree with me or not, what have you. The point being is that, you know, they're disciplined in their trades, their invalidations, things of that nature. So, you know, once we start building that out, that'll allow me to do more of the free educational content that's specific to our server, not running on YouTube live or anything like that. But those that are looking for corners, and if you feel like you're in that status, you know, there's a journal section. You know, once those journals start getting built out and you start building your following, things of that nature, then you'll have a designated corner that's just carved out for you. And speaking of journals, we are still running the $100 giveaway through the month of February for those that build their journal inside the server. It's going to be random, but what we're really looking for is the consistency with it, with the thought process, whether you win or whether you lose. It's not an area where you're going to just be bragging like, oh, I was right, because nobody's going to be 100% right all the time. They're just not. You know, you might bat like an 80% or 90%, which is phenomenal, don't get me wrong, but your average trader is right roughly around like 40% of the time. So what we're looking for is just consistency in building the thought process behind that. So we got a couple people in there. We have some phenomenal new people inside of the server that are actually dropping some really, really good ideas that are in there. So take a look. It's under the, it's inside of the trading floor under the trading journal. There's a couple guys in there that are posting some really good ideas. I cannot get this music to play to save my soul. Yeah, we got CPI tomorrow too. Yep. I'm not worried about it though, to be quite honest with you. Just, you know, I get asked that question often, like, you know, how do you feel about CPI? Do you trade those days? I still trade those days. You know, maybe I get a more violent move, you know, to either direction, but I essentially still trade those days. I'm not a fundamental trader, if you will. I'm a purely technical trader. Nah, man, I can't get music to play at all. I can't get anything to load on my side. You know what that means? Coffee break. Be right back, guys. Still here. Just gonna get some coffee real quick. Any of you guys take a knee long at all, though? Any of you guys long in the levels that we were talking about? You guys already know I am. I already picked up some of my orders. I just hope this doesn't turn into a low time frame bear flag and then just give us, a high yacht to the downside or a bear pennant. Give me V shape, please. Give me V shape. I mean, technically, we do have a small little diving board that was established right here from here to here. Yeah, we do have a small little diving board. So that actually kind of plays well into the head and shoulders if that can give us our V shape. Let's look at it like this. You have your, let me take the magnet off real quick because it'll be difficult without the magnet. Small diving board, but it gave us a plunge. There's your spring. Excuse me. There's your plunge. And now you're looking for a V shape. Really needs to reclaim the bottom of that board right over here, which is 1953, to be something that's authentic, to maintain itself. That's just on lower time frame. So not the strongest of patterns, but nevertheless, it's a pattern to be observing. And I definitely don't want to see a flag or a pennant or anything like that, because then I'll have continuation down to the downside, and that'll just suck. Calling what it is, that'll just suck. Yeah, that would be a continuation, bearish continuation pattern if it were to break like that. Meh, maybe. Pray for a V shape. And then this is going to be the level that we need to break first. 1953. Failure to close above that, that's pretty bearish. And then that's going to point towards the next time frame, the next session, excuse me, the next 4-hour session will probably give us another sweep low. So right now, like if you're longing inside of this area, 1953 puts us right where that high is. So the next session, you'd want to TP on that 4-hour. Now you're currently in a 4-hour. So in the event saying, what if it just decides to pull all the way up? What if it does that? Then you're going to be targeting right over here for a TP. 1995. Full TP, partial TP, that's where they're going to be, user discretion based on your risk tolerance. What did BTC do? BTC's back over 66. That's fine. That's good. That's what we're looking for. You need to hold. You need to hold this area. I mean, you're on a cooldown, but if you want to float down to like a lower time frame, let's say like a 4-hour, let's open that up. You had a cooldown here in this area. So ideally, you want to drill down on that a little bit harder, you're looking for that to maintain itself. You did get a 9 that printed lower, but this would be your target that you want to see hold 64,805, 64,281. And you could do this. I actually think I have a setup for this on a 34-minute as far as fib levels wise. Yeah. Let's move this over. This is from the stream on Monday. Yep. Puts us in the same area, 618. 0.32, bounce off of it, stunk below it, got to throw down underneath it, fought for its life to get over 67, couldn't keep 0.5 area. So this is essentially going to be your next target. You're on a 9 right now on a 34-minute, and I believe, yeah, your 7 printed lower than your 8. So would not be surprised if you get an impulse down into 64,770. I'd look to de-risk, if I were in your shoes, and maybe look for an add back, or if you have the stomach to hold it, then you know what those levels look like. But that's what I would be looking for in BTC. Hmm. ETH 1903, that's what's up, Sniper. Yeah, they're risky longs. Not gonna front, they are risky longs. One thing I wanted to double check here was I wanted to double check DMI on 4-hour. Basing a lot of this off of 4-hour. That's the main time frame that I'm charting right now. This ADX is now picking up some life when you have DI negative that's rising. But we've seen that already once before right over here. DI negative was trying to rise. ADX was following suit right behind it. We had some moves to the downside because of that, right? Which really stemmed from this right over here, this move down. But they didn't have the strength to match it. And so we could see something that's very similar to that, right? Or we could start seeing something that's similar to this right over here. ADX came down flat inside this area. Then you had DI negative and DA positive that were kind of doing this tango dance right in this area. And then you saw DI positive push up in that area. What did that do to price action inside those zones? Short-lived, but nevertheless gave us a small little pump. Small little one for at least 1, 2, 3, 4, for at least 12 hours. Yeah, at least 12 hours. Then we kind of leveled off inside that zone. We had to break a structure from that as well too. So change of characters, what I'd be hunting for first, then a break of structure to the upside. and then looking at potential shorts once that breaker structure starts to present itself. It's not going to be the first breaker structure that I'm going to look at. I'm going to look for signs of weakness, really. I'm going to be looking at the trend. I want to see that this trend kind of flips itself. So bullish trend then goes into 100% exhaustion. ADX here for a DMI sits at minimum somewhere around the 60 levels. Best case scenario would be somewhere around 80s. I don't think we'll get there. I think maybe we'll get to maybe like a 60. And then from a wave trend perspective, I want to see that we're starting to print red dots. We did print a red dot here inside of this area, but this is not really a sell signal for me as far as how I trade and I utilize this tool. I really want to see my sell signals to print like these over here to the upside. So hopefully that helps. You know, and if the long doesn't perform here, then I'll just wait for the lower levels. Make it easy. Easy peasy. You guys, any questions, feel free to just drop them in the chat. Happy to answer for you. I'm going to rock with you guys for, till about 1:30, maybe a little bit longer, maybe about 2 o'clock or so. I really want to see what develops here on the next 4-hour session. That's going to be kind of a key indicator for me, because if I sink lower and I'm on a 2 here, then these targets come into the picture here, right? Maybe even down to this order block, to be quite honest with you, right? It's still within inside of this, this leg down over here. Yes, the inverse head and shoulder would be invalidated. So I'd remove that idea, that thesis. I'd post it inside the channel for you guys. But the wave 2 would still be on the deck for us. So it's just really if we can hold those up levels. Or there'd be somewhere like around, you could do something like that. That's a strong one. And then you'll get your 3. You make trend lines if you're making downtrends or uptrends from to the wick to the first body. And then your support, you're looking at, key levels for support. So you could look at this and say, okay, there's just a support level, right? That sits right over here. This could ultimately become support down the road. So you look at something like that. And then if I'm looking at uptrends, going to go from this wick to the first body, this body right here. And you can see that it got violated. That's why you have a big push down like that. Individuals longing on side of this zone, long this trend line. When you see a big thrust through a trend line, that becomes trend line liquidity. So you got to be careful when you're utilizing trend lines, at least uptrends. I really look for the horizontal ones, right? Because that gives me a little bit more stability. And then just kind of look left. Where did this originate from? Okay, cool. So this was a close right inside this area. Right, we wick down, so this represents liquidity. So this is the floor of that area, and this is really where the support begins. So essentially, you have a box that sits inside this zone right here, just like that. And on lower time frames, you can see that it's turned into an order block inside that area. It's the first body. And this is your first body right here. That's your first body. You can do it from here too. First body, then going up. Same thing. Trendline liquidity. You can see what occurred here. Boom. Trendline liquidity. You can have a multiple amount of different trend lines that you're utilizing. Those are essentially called spider lines. And then you keep mapping them out. Maybe you want to go trend line to trend line inside that area. This clearly got violated. See you later. Actually, you can leave that on because in the event that you come back to it and it starts rejecting off of it, you'll know where it rejected from, right inside this area. That's just a quick and easy way of explaining that. Because the body represents where the true support was at, where it pulled back from. The wick represents liquidity. So if you don't get back to that liquidity area, you at least want to get back to the level that it held off. So the wick represents liquidity. The body represents where there was support. You try to build support here in this area. Everyone that was long in this area, liquidate them, or at least run tight stop losses. Boom. People that were trying to catch falling knives. Boom. But then pulled right back up to that support level. So that becomes your support. Same thing over here. That becomes your support area. You can see support, support. And then you had just liquidity that pushed right into it. You may not get back to that same wick level. You just may not. So then you essentially just set up a box, kind of like what I did right over here. And say, okay, if I get into this box and I can maintain and hold this box, you know, the top of this box is really where that support begins. But what if I get some liquidity that pushes into this zone? So then I want to be longing inside of this box. The no music is painful for me, guys. It is painful. Like no beats. You're welcome, Sean. Yeah, we're entering back into that area again. So same thing I think I was looking at on lower time frames. Really want to see if this can maintain a V shape, if it can, if it's possible. You got a small little order block that's developed here inside this zone. Which puts us right on that same fib level. Ideally, if it can pull back to here and maintain 1930, that'd be great, because then we have a nice little shelf that sits right here. Right there. That'd be perfect over the next 2 hours if price action could pull back above that. That's relatively bullish if it can pull back in that area. Still, everything is inside this golden pocket right now as we speak. It's like deathly quiet. Jeez, I hate this. I'm about to just put music on my TV. Let it ride from there. We should get back into this box here again. Yeah, got a 13 on lower. Now we got to change a character. Got our pullback. I'm gonna see what that 9 does here in the next session. See if that 9 can give us a move down and then move back up. All right, we've got an impulse brewing here. Give me a 9 that's lower. That's really what we're looking for. Give me a 9 that's lower. Lower than this, which is 1906 area. What is this? Do I have a shape bottom here? But I already cleared it, right? No, I didn't clear it. Let me double check. Yeah, so you got a shaved bottom that sits right here. So I gotta clear this. Ah, that's not what I wanted. I wanted to see this come lower, clear this imbalance, and give me a 9 that's deeper. This kind of points towards we're gonna be farting around here in this area for a little while. At what level is this? This was 1906, and then what's this order block? 1903. Okay. We still essentially have that V shape that sits there. Okay, so all these wicks right here just represent liquidity. You know, people that are trying to long trend lines. And so you have liquidity push downs. Ultimately, you want to see that this 13-minute candle can close back above this trend line to maintain that V shape. That's actually your spring right there. That's your spring. And then that's your plunge. DVB's diving board. And this is going to be the main area that I need to get back above. That's where you need to see price climb up. Because they could always just do this, right? And then come right back down. So if I get to these levels into the area, I'm still not going to open a short. I'm just going to de-risk, take my profits there in that area, and then wait for the lower levels. I don't have a personal interest in shorting from these levels. Like my shorts, I want to look at, you know, if I'm being super bearish, 2300s, you know, 22 and some change. Okay, Bytunix just kind of went on the fritz on me on there. Okay, there it is. 2200s, 2600s inside of those areas. For me, that would be the more ideal short setup. BTC sitting at 65, 617. Did it come to that level I was saying earlier? Kind of far away. You did get a 9 though on the 34-minute, which is ideal. Did you print a 9? Oh, you printed a 9. Beautiful. Beautiful. You printed a 9 on that 34. That's great. Now we have a nice little gap right sits right over here. And what did we say? 1950 in that area? 1953, it's this trend line right here. Which maybe clear that area, just clear that gap, and then it goes back down. That's yeah, gotta watch out for that. I'm shorting this level. That's a no-go for me personally. I didn't want to check Sol. I wanted to check. Look at River. Boy, oh boy, oh boy. Look at River. River. You gonna come back down? You look like you are. Might be a good short. I got a shooting star there. 13-minute. Not the strongest time frame to be really looking at that. But man, you quickly recover. Look at that. Runs hot and then quickly runs into a cooldown. That's signs of strength on that. Yeah, you got a 9 that printed there too. You're about to print a red dot here soon, but your trend's not done yet, so be careful on that. Let's look at you from a 4-hour. Yeah, man. Oh, this is gonna be the sweet spot for me right here. That's gonna be the sweet spot. 607. I'm actually gonna bring this down to here. I'm gonna bring this to here. All right, because if we don't push up higher, then we don't have a wave B printing just yet, and we don't have a wave A that's confirmed. So I'd definitely be looking. I'm going to look in the 6s for River. That's what I would be looking for, and ETH should hopefully get some life put into it by then. The BTC 64,770. Yeah, maybe. What are you doing, USDT? You're still farting around here in this area, aren't you? Did you make a higher high? You did, didn't you? No, you didn't. $8.284. 283, just underneath it. So almost like a equal high. Not quite, but similar to it. It's a lower high. It's good news. Still lower high. So let's see if we can maintain that. I'm putting some music in the background for myself. Sorry guys, I'm still here though.
Keeping a very close eye on any reaction that we might have from the Pentagon and also from President Trump. And of course, we will bring that to you once that happens. We also wanted to share this live look up. There it is.
Yeah, she's on set today. This is Wilson. This is Jessica King, my fiance.
Nice to meet you. Look up this announcement. Bring it to you. Interruption. In the meantime, though, we do have a number of other live events. I'm Stephanie Quinn. Thank you for watching live now from Fox. Our next live event takes us to Atlanta, Georgia. Now, we were hearing from the Senate as they were questioning Todd Lyons about immigration, border security, and DHS. Happening in Atlanta, Georgia, there is an ICE out rally happening right now. We're going to dip into that.
Ni quisieron que esta ley pasara, porque sabían que iban a perder la confianza de la comunidad.
And now, if you've looked at opinions polls, almost 2/3 of Americans agree that ICE has gone too far.
Y si ven las encuestas que estamos viendo,
There we go. Hopefully that plays and gives us a little bit of life. You guys can't hear it, but I can. Mm. Yeah, unfortunately, it's Lady Gaga. Let's just work with what we got. I think it's all across all the browsers. They're just lagging. Even Bitfinex is giving me some lag displays. How much time I have left on this? Roughly around 90 minutes. Get over. So I got a new session here. Same thing, I got a 13 that's printing here. Yes, I do have a 3, but I have a 13 on my lead up phase that's printing. Let's go to the next session. Let's go 1, 2, 3, 4. That's a long haul. So I'll probably sit around this area for at least a couple hours. Probably for the next 4-hour session, I'll probably still float around here inside this area. So just not out of the woods yet altogether. Sell signal on that. No buy signal on there. Going back to this. Probably look for another green dot to print here in this area. Challenge is going overall pretty well. Just the last couple of days, just difficult to get into a decent position. You know, I didn't take the bias of shorting. Sure, I could have shorted. There could have been more profits in that area if I was shorting in that zone. I just didn't believe in the short. Personally, I didn't. You know, whether you faded that or you took your own analysis, kudos to you. You're in profits. I am truly happy for you. But this is just something that I'm working and how I'm operating. I wanted to get into deeper positions, things that we can sit in for a while. You know, whether it be for 3 weeks, a month, something like that, for a good relief. And then we can look at some heavier shorts. We're getting to that stagnant part of the day. And isn't it funny? Every time I drop off the stream, you usually see price movement. They go, he's off. Let's move the price. Another reason why I feel like we're going to float around this area a little bit more is because, you know, price action did come to our 618. We did get a bounce off of it, but like this is not the bounce that we're relatively looking for. Like you want to see an aggressive bounce, kind of like what we saw over here. You know, heavy liquidations that set inside this area, boom, pulled and then started pulling all the way back up. That's really what we're looking for on a wave too. You know, tapping into one of these levels, whether it be this box, whether it be this level right over here, this level right over here, or maybe even this order block that sits inside that zone. So that when you know you have a strong fib level, you know, you see boom, and then pulls right back up. We're not exactly seeing that right now. That's what's leading me to believe and say, okay, we probably have a little bit more levels that we're going to be testing, or at least floating around inside this area, consolidating, then we can get our move up. It is closer towards the end of the week. So a little bit as we edge closer towards the end of the week, we actually start looking to de-risking positions that we're getting into. this week was mainly scalps and intraday setups. So we were in them for that day and then got out. Nothing that we really held on to, unless you shorted from here from this area. I did short from this zone, but then I TP'd inside this area. I didn't hold on to my short there, and that was a non-challenge play. It was just something I was doing on the side. See if I can stagger inside of this area here. That's kind of what I'm looking for right now. See if I can stagger inside that. You know, what was I on a 13 earlier? Or was it a 3-minute? I know I had a 9 that was higher. It was a 13-minute. Where did I see that imbalance at? Are you on a 34-minute? Yeah, it's right here. There it is. It's this guy. It was on a 2-minute. And nice change of character.
When you start to make it, you just have to follow what's inside. Take a chance. Always be brave. Don't be cautious. Just go for what you believe in.
We cleared that imbalance, got right into that order block right there. Some of the trades that I had staggered just got picked up. My stop is just below that low that we see. Yeah, oh, almost there. Oh, living on a prayer. It came right to this change of character area. Let me go back to a 4-hour real quick. 1897 is that area. What did I say? 1953. That would be the first level. If I can get there, that would be the first level. You printed a green dot there. Okay. They're taking some small TPs already on that, like $23 in profits on that. If it runs into my stop loss is roughly around 50, so I'll be in the red, like roughly around $30 if I get stopped out on that. So just running tight risk management on that. Like I said before, you know, it's a risky entry in the event that we do get a V-shaped recovery. It is a risky move, but if it pans out, if it plays out the way that we're looking for, then you know there's good profits that are involved in that. So what is USDT doing? USDT, did you go higher? I think you went higher this time. Yeah, you went a little bit higher. You went straight to that 0.5 fib area. Let's see if that's an area for rejection for it. There's no sell dots that printed yet. 91%. So really need to see that ADX start to curve down. It might have an exit squeeze though, which would translate to ETH pushing down a little bit lower on a fast wick and then pulling back up. So essentially it'd be like feeling like catching a falling knife. But we do have the levels, so let's go back to that 34 minute. Actually, we can go to a 4 hour because I think I have a transpose on a 4 hour as well too. Yeah. You could see a fast wick into the zone, into this box right over here. 1886, something like of that nature. That looked like that was the pullback above for the change of character. It's probably going to give us a break of structure. 1895. Yeah, that's right over here. Okay. Yeah, bulls are trying to defend that area. You know, buyers are trying to defend 1900 block. They failed to defend 2000 block. But I was saying this earlier in the week. You know, the play for buyers right now or bulls, you know, if you have a bullish bias, is defense. That's your play. That's your angle, is defense. They're not on the offensive yet. So they got to play some hard defense here, which makes it, not saying it's more difficult for sellers, but you know, sellers have to go catch that second wind and you know really press the gas pedal to push it down harder. They've pushed it down pretty aggressively since since August. You know, 6 months. 6 months. And what kind of reprieve did they give inside of those 6 months? They gave a short little reprieve. They gave back 32%. and then they took back another 50% off of the initial drop that they had. They gave out 47%. They took 47%, they gave back 32%, and now they took another 50%. So let's just make the assumption that we get back a portion of this move. That would just be 50% of this move down to the downside, just this move right here. And that puts us at 2610. I think that's healthy. I mean, my extreme bullish ideal would be here. Get 100% of that move back, and then move back down. That's like 69% of that. And that'll take some time, right? So how long did this take? You know, this took from December to February. So this move, you know, if we're going to reclaim any of that back, that could take 2-3 months. It's not going to happen in one candle. So heavy dosage of patience is, you know, what I keep reiterating. You got to play defense here, run tight risk management in the sense of stop losses, things of that nature. Yeah, you just took liquidity there on that move. Now it's trying to reclaim it. Yeah, we got some Madonna in the background. Don't let your money not. This area is going to be key if it can reclaim that. Right now, short term, right? If we can reclaim that, then this order block becomes liquidity. I mean, look at this space. Look at this gap right inside here. All this. That's on lower time frames. Obviously, I'm on a 2-minute. But that puts us in the areas I was talking about on the lower time frame. I believe I was looking at a 13-minute, a diving board. You know, this is going to be a key area right over here. Retesting a break of structure inside this zone. BTC's on the struggle bus. BTC's getting to that lower level. $64,770 for BTC. And a nice break of structure there for ETH. 1902. And let's see if they can actually step up here. Go, go, go.
When you start to make movement,
Sell signal on the bottom. No real strength that's behind that. They just have dominance. Yeah, they do on lower time frames. They just have dominance. They're trying to develop dominance here. Man, I should have longed BTC on that, but I'm gonna wait. I'll wait to see what occurs. What did USDT do? Still scraping that 0.5. Man, I was literally my finger on the trigger for 65081. I didn't pull it. I had to see if I can get a little bit lower on that. Still positioned on it, but I'm looking for, more makes sense add backs to the ETH play. Liquidation for BTC sits like around like 46, so I have room to play with. I'm obviously not going to let it run to liquidation, just my point being. ADX running flat. A small buy signal that printed there. I would have preferred it to be down here, to be honest with you. Set up phase wise, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, you got to climb back above here. 1913. For you to maintain that. What is 1913? Yeah. You're going to get some turbulence here in this area again. I literally have Get Jiggy With It playing in the background. Oh my gosh. I don't know how many of y'all know that song, but boy, oh boy, oh boy. BTC's inside of Golden Pocket now. Yeah, it is. Yep. Good eye. Yep, it is. Yeah, and so that's a good observation. When you're inside that Golden Pocket, it's I don't want to say it's blind entry per se, but I mean you have several different levels just looking left, right? What are we tapping into right now? So we're tapping into what was resistance before you had that move up. So at least on this time frame right here, you have BTC bouncing off of that area. What did we say? 1913? Yep. It came right to that level. I de-risked some of it on there, on mine. So now my stop is $37 in the red, but I have 28 in profit, so it's not a huge loss. It's literally like a $9 loss for me. Not huge margins either. Literally just using like 1% of the port. Because I don't want to get my back blown out, for lack of better terminology, and have a heavier loss. And then it goes back to the level, goes back up to the levels. I'd rather just, take a small little loss, $9 loss altogether, and then have a potential opportunity to get back in. Nice move. Okay. 2 minute. Took that order block. Just decent. Now I got to change the character, and I'm going to kind of see the same thing. What does that look like on a 4-hour? It's the decent pullback. This is going to be the sweet spot that it really wants to look and come back and claim inside this area. Really want to see that. Okay, if we can get a V from there. Pan you out. Like that. Is that right where that order block is at? Not out of the woods yet. Far from out of the woods. Yeah, you can always wait for confirmations. It's a safer play, safer move, safer entry altogether. Yeah, the first block is 2048. This is what it was printing for me earlier for ETH. It takes that level, then you're looking at 2114, and then you have a higher one that sits at 2287 inside that zone. And some days are going to be slow, right? Some days you'll have fat green P&Ls. Some days it feels like you're collecting ducats. Ultimately, looking for the challenge finishing this week. This week, we're essentially looking to cross over into that 1700 benchmark. That's really what we're looking for. $17.78. That's really what we're looking for this week. I'll be happy with that. I'll be content with that. I don't want to sit there and say, yeah, I don't want more. I mean, anybody would, but that would be a good threshold. That would keep the challenge on pace. And so you can see, if any of you guys are curious, if you go to my desk section inside my corner, Saint's desk, you can see the rules that I have for this challenge and kind of some of the targets that I'm looking at for the next 2 to 3 weeks. Be right back. I have to use the restroom real quick.
What's the secret? Detail. Going micro. Even microdose GLP-1s. That's starting at just $99. Micro. Maybe do micro.
It's designed to minimize side effects and give you real weight loss. Yes, please. I'm doing it. Go micro.
That's starting at just $99. Get started at noon.com. What's the secret to peak out? Going micro. Micro habits, micro wins. Even micro hits GLP-1s. Oh, it's just $99. Micro. You can do micro.
And it's designed to minimize side effects and
Yes, please. I'll do it. I'm doing micro. Now start at just it's liquidity.com. This isn't about Paris.
All right, what I miss? What I miss? What I miss? So where are we on this 4 hour? We got another hour and 60 minutes. I'm just gonna scalp it, really. Just, you know, de-risk, wait for lower targets to come re-enter. So just little here, little there, little here, little there. Soul inside of a golden pocket. Yeah, if you're measuring from here to here, yeah. Soul might actually just take a high out from there. Let's look at USDT again. Let's see where the moves happen first. All right, push up and then a strong throwdown. River's not part of the challenge, buddy. Sorry, man. Set an alarm for that. Okay, so it doesn't want to set an alarm. Fantastic. I got a fair value gap. Did it clear that imbalance? It did clear this imbalance right over here. I can see that. There's no other imbalances, man. All these imbalances have been cleared. The only true imbalances get down to these levels right over here. That was cleared, because I can drill down on that. Yeah, that's cleared. These are all, except for this one right here. Actually, no. Yeah, that's not cleared. This candle's not cleared. I got close to it. This candle's cleared. And this area's cleared. So it kind of puts me inside this zone right over here. 7.9 and some change. Yeah, that brings the, man, that would be amazing if it just retraces this entire move down. I gotta watch for this fair value gap, see what occurs here, this fair value gap, if it bounces off of it, or if it takes it. You don't have, oh, you didn't have a, oh, you did have a sell signal on that, okay. You're about to brew a buy signal here relatively soon. I don't know why this is not transposing on the lower time frames, which it should. But this should be visible on all time frames. Same thing with you. Okay. Yeah. Took that fair value gap, that's good. I'm gonna see if it rejects it. Just decent. Okay. All right. Far from out of the woods, though, guys. Far from out of the woods. We're like the prodigal son right here, right now. We're in the trenches with the pigs. We're in the trenches with the pigs. Yeah, the fair value gathered clear there. That just created there. Let's see what happens with that. What does ETH look like? Hold up. What's my level for 4 hour? 1930. Actually, let's do this just so we can see it on everything. Yeah. Because that's running hot. I'm not going to short it or anything like that. I would just take a little bit off the top. Take a little bit off the top. So if it ran to my stop now here, I'd still be net positive. It took a little bit off the top, 42 in profit. If it ran to my stop, it's 28 in the red, so it'd still be net positive. You know, once we get to 1930, I'll take a little bit more profit and then I'll move my stop loss into profits. Rejecting off of a trend line that I had established. It was a long-term one. I believe I had it from there. Where did I have that? Where did that originate from? Was I looking at weekly? It was June 2022. Yeah, from here, right? Yeah, from here.
What's the secret detail?
This would be confirmation that wave A is done. We can get that because then we can get our subwaves. You see we have cooldowns. Very similar to what we had over here. Yes, we had cooldowns over here, but then we started seeing prints and then we got another push down. So essentially I'm longing cooldowns on the 5-day. This is why I was saying, like, I'm not really open to shorting here inside of this area for the simple fact that I'm going to cool down on higher time frames. We've had cooldowns here before, moved up, and then had deep cooldowns that just kept making lower lows. You obviously got to be checking volume with this. You can't just rely solely on one indicator. But that's really where the play comes from. So every time we had green dots that printed, did I have a cooldown on that? I can't see it. I can't see that data. Started getting cooldowns here in this zone. Then we got some sell dots. Yes, we did. Then we're running into cooldowns here as well too. Actually, can we just take that off real quick? You can see them a little bit better. Then you got into cooldowns with a green dot that printed underneath. Green dot that printed here as well too. That was running relatively flat, really kind of going sideways. Green dot right over here with a cooldown. We have another green dot that printed right here. A small cooldown, sideways movement, but you got a good couple days. You got at least a month where you're moving up higher before you had to move down. I don't have a green dot here on the lower time frame. Excuse me, on this 5-day. I don't have that yet. So that's, again, that's the reason why I'm saying, like, these levels are still on the table for me. We're far from out of the woods yet. And you've got a red dot that's probably going to print here just in any minute now. I'm going to try to push the price right back down. That's on a 2-minute though. Let's go to a 13-minute, see what that looks like. You get a green dot with low time frame. Cooldowns. No break of structure yet. So that makes this level 1974 an area that we're going to be looking at. We're still looking at the 1930 because that's the diving board that I was sharing with you guys earlier. But that's going to be a key area because you can see where the resistance was, right? We had a push down, then we try to pull back up, essentially flipping this support area into resistance, and we had that another little push down. So if we can flip this area, then my next target is going to be right over here. But if we start rejecting inside of the zone, then I'm just going to de-risk and then look for the lower levels. All the entries were already posted inside of the server. So nothing has changed in that regard. All you're seeing me here do now is just take small little TPs, small little TPs here at these levels as we're getting to these little wicks that we see to the upside. That's telling me, hey, take some profit. Don't get round trip, take some profit. Little here, little there, little here, little there. This is going to be key right now for USDT. Right, just took this fair value gap, but if it decides to go up above and climb here, it's going to go over here. That's where they're going to start putting ETH a little bit lower. So in a perfect world, it's really what you're looking for. No green dot printed on that. That makes me a little nervous, little nervous, because if it prints a green dot, then it's going to go higher, which is kind of frustrating. I know, I'm kind of frustrated. This garbage on here. Loss of strength. So 13-minute, 34-minute. What do you look like? Still have strength. You don't have a red dot that's printed just yet. Yeah, lower high would be ideal. And then a higher low for ETH. Kind of what we want to start targeting. Not what I want to see. If you just wait for it to come to you, and you don't sit there and have like blind entries, you feel a little bit better about the move, but more importantly, you feel a little bit better about your risk management. You'll have clear invalidation levels for you, so where you're not bleeding in the red, you know, sitting underwater for, you know, days at a time, praying and hoping, hey, just get me back to entry and I'll get out. You know, you won't have that mindset. You'll be able to get in and out of positions once invalidation appears. Right? You have on the lower time frame, you have a drop down like this, and then you see sideways movement like this. This can be viewed as one or two things, really. You know, you have short-term consolidation, where you have that sideways movement, or redistribution inside this area. So if you see another sweep, then this whole move was redistribution. This will be the key level for us to break, to give us confirmation that we're not inside of a redistribution. We'd break above, so all this move over here was accumulation after this drop. You got to measure from the level of where it resisted first, right? You had your drop, boom, and then it tried to pull back up. Okay, cool. It gave me a small little ceiling here. Okay, if I resist here in this area again, then redistribution, that's going to be a clue for you to say, okay, I need to get out of this position. Still got a red dot on 4 hour. No green dot on 55. I do have a green dot on a 34. That's okay. Snap, bullish engulfing. Where have you been? Just noticed that. It's actually kind of comforting. Look how difficult that is, right? I'm not saying it's like super difficult. I'm just saying that's frustrating for any trader. You know, are we going to go up? No. Are we going to go down? No. Or, like, what are we doing here? So just straight chop. Just straight chop. Just another reason for you not to be married to your positions. Oh, excuse me.
And switch to file. You'll get tons of entertainment and save time. So when you're not watching your favorite channel, you can
blessing if, you know, BTC can get to 84. That would be a blessing. But you have so many shorts that are still stepping in, trying to push it into that 40 region beforehand. They want to see 40 before we clear that CME gap. And just because we have a CME gap doesn't necessarily mean that we have to clear it. You know, from a daily perspective, we'll look at ETH real quick. ETH has a gap that sits right over here. See that 2600 area that I was talking about? There's a lot going on here in this area. A lot. From a technical trading perspective, yeah, it makes sense. You know, that would make sense for a TP area for us to go into. It doesn't necessarily mean it has to. We got a rectangle here on the bottom. Yeah, I don't have the top of that yet. That would be more of over here. So right now you're inside of this range. And see, you got, yeah, this is a clear cut of a range. You got your tight change of characters on both sides with breaker structures, change of character with breaker structures. This is just showing you range. Another change of character again. Feels like brain rot, really. Running warm, relatively quick inside of this range. So that's just scalp weather for us. That's just scalp weather. When you're trading a range, specifically, you know, if you're gonna short, you want to short the top of the range with an invalidation that sits right above it. So like if you're shorting it, scalp shorting inside this area, you know, your scalp short would look like this. And then obviously if you get a break below, then you get a break below. But that's what it looked like. And then the opposite is true if you're longing, right? You know, you're longing this area. You know, this, I think this was the 618 fib 1897s in this area. And then you're looking for TPs inside that zone. And then your stop loss is relatively tight. You can set it a little bit wider if you want to. I mean, that's obviously 3 pips. 1.01% would put you somewhere right around here. But like the risk reward is garbage in that regard. That's why you got to have a tighter stop loss. You get a break above, you know, you can start targeting some of these areas. Hold up. Oh, I just saw that. There's a 9 failure that sits here. Interesting. What is that? What level is that? 1979. Good year. Yeah, if we can get that, that'd be juicy. That'd be juicy, juicy. Then I'd break that range and then no shorts. Do I have another 9 failure? I sure the heck do. I have another one that sits right over here. Right at 2000s. All right, so I got 2 9 failures that just caught. Mind you, it's on a 2-minute, not the strongest data, but obviously something to be paying attention to. Because we have little magnets. They're gonna try to pull price. One. And 2. It's even imbalance that sits in that area. Kind of alluding to the fact that that trend is not completely exhausted yet. A little tiny diving board here. A tiny one though. With a deep, deep, deep plunge. No V shape yet. It really needs a V shape. I don't like that one. I like this idea better for a diving board. Did that even give me a pullback? Damn, that was a weak pullback, but it did give it to me. Yeah, it gave me a weak pullback right over here. No break of structure. So what I'm doing right now is I'm just looking at previous, what was support levels, right? Support level moved a little bit higher, had a small little support here, moved into this area, lower high inside this zone. Typically when you have a change of character, you have a pullback to retest, whether it's going to be the change of character area or a little bit higher. One, two, three, four. So next session, next 13-minute, 1, 2, 3, 4. That put me here. What was that 1913? And I believe when people see these little tiny moves up, like these 0.2% moves up, they're like, oh snap, we're going higher. All-time high, here we come. And they start longing, and then price just starts, dumping on them. They're like, why? It's because vast majority of, you have retail that are going to be long in those areas, and institutional money, market money, money man likes to see that, and then they just push the price down lower right on you. When you go into like this consolidation phase or this sideways movement, it really creates a narrative of capitulation. They don't want anybody to trade. They want to gobble it up for themselves. So resilience and patience really become one of the most evident strong suits that you could have. It's not even about strategy at the end of the day. Yes, strategy does play a major role when it comes to setups. So that way you have a plan, you have more confidence. But when we have sideways movement, that's really what's going to boil down to. It's that grit. That grit is going to be tested. Waiting for those levels to come to you and then executing on those levels. Yeah, there it is. I had a feeling you're going to do that, and you did it anyways. Yeah, that little fair value gap that it tested. Just running both sides. Now you have a shade bottom that sits over here in this area. Best bet you're looking for a lower high on this, unless this thing just wants to go gangbusters and push up to the higher fib levels that we're talking about. Up to these levels.
Yes.
45 minutes left on that candle.
Dry lining to keep them comfortably dry. Behind everything. What's the secret? They tell.
This is the level that I need to break on this current session, this current candle. We need to close below that in order to change the setup phase.
Yes, please. I'm doing it.
It's not like it used to be back in the day, man. Back in 2022, man, it was a lot easier. I'm not gonna lie, it was a lot easier. Whether you're bearish or bullish, it was just a lot easier. You know, this time frame where we're at with just crypto in general, it has a little bit more mainstream fuel behind it. You know, and institutional money will kind of prey on that. Not from a predatory perspective, but just using the terminology, like they notice that, they recognize that, and they'll create these narratives for us where capitulation essentially kicks in. You know, they want to control the entire market. It's an unregulated market, so you have enough capital, like billions of dollars, to control the market. The objective is to create capitulation. Tom Lee sitting like $9 billion in the red. We got another whale out there that has like $111,000 as far as a position, who's sitting like 5 million in the red. What is that? That is a pullback. Is that your pullback? Or a high. Same story. Rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat. Sideways movement. Sideways movement. We can drill down on this a little bit harder too. Wick the body. Stretch us over. Color coordinate that one red just for the inside. That's where shorts are opening up. Shorts went lower. There's more shorts in the market. Which is ideal for me because, you know, a squeeze will come down the road. A squeeze will come down the road. Coinbase just posted its users can't buy or sell at the moment. Oh gosh. Watch Money Man push the price high where no one can actually buy. No one can do spot buys. Dude, that would be, oh man, that would be pretty nasty. That would be pretty nasty. Oh, you're welcome, Sniper. Always love to have you, brother. So, question, feedback for you guys. Are these setups pretty clear inside of the server for you as far as what I'm doing, how I'm handling them? I'll put a poll for you guys. If you guys need something more to that outside of me actually pushing the buttons, you know, I'm open to that feedback. Okay, how come that poll didn't actually print? That's weird. Let's try that again. It's so weird. It didn't start. It didn't create the. Whoa. Did that actually prints this time? Now, here's really going to be the question for, for bears. Do they become greedy here? Do they, or better put, how easy is it for bears here in this area? Do they just start opening up giga shorts here in these levels and to push the price down lower? Or do buyers, institutional money, things of that nature, see that, look at retail, because maybe across the board it is retail from that perspective, opening up shorts here, and then we see a squeeze. We'll know that answer based on this range, if this range gets broken. And then we can also see the rotation based on BTC on lower time frames. Sideways movement, we had a pump, now you have a relatively sideways movement with lower highs. You got a red dot that printed there. That's decent. I don't know if the poll is printing on my side. I don't know if I have like, my bandwidth is fine. I don't know why it's not, everything's so slow. My gosh, we have so many lines that are here. We need to get rid of that. We got a lot of lines here. We need to get rid of this noise. Got a little bit of green, a little bit of a blue wave kind of printing here. Ideal to see if we get a big push, get a green dot sits here. We got 38 minutes left in this session, so the next session is really, really, really going to be key for ETH, at least on a 4-hour. Testing that same range again. Did make a higher high in that regard. There you go. Pull finally printed. That's weird. Didn't do that at first. All right, so we just broke that range just now. So that's somewhat of a positive for us. Kind of what I was alluding to, you're going to start seeing more shorts aping into these levels, and then you see a massive push. Let's go look at 4-hour real quick. No green dot printed on that. Like I said, we still have 37 minutes left inside of this current session. We'll actually go over to a 34, see what that looks like. Broke that range. 27 minutes left in that. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So yeah, I would anticipate we come back and revisit 1918 relatively soon. That's running hot already. All right, let's see if we can hold. Now to confirm that we broke the range, the next candle would literally need to bounce off of either the top or inside of that red box where resistance was, and then push higher. Please. Like I said, I still don't fully trust it. I don't fully trust it. I like it, but I don't fully trust it. You got trust issues with it, guys. That's all. Just trust issues with it. I know a lot of you guys took some of these levels. You know, there's some nervousness behind that in the sense of, you know, is this something that I should hold? Should I be dumping this? You know, we're getting into the later parts of the weekend. You know, I have my TPs that are pre-designed already, right? So that's essentially what I'm looking for. I am going to strip some off on the top when I start seeing these rejections. In the event that I don't get my full TP, you know, I'll look for the better entry to come back to me, moving my stop loss to a break-even level. That's currently where I'm at right now. Some of you guys want to follow suit. Some of you guys may not even entered at all. Maybe you were waiting for that lower level of 1839 inside that area. But what if we get front ran and we don't see that 1839? What if wave 2 was in fact 0.618? You know, we're on a confirmation levels right now. We're waiting for price action to give us that confirmation. Okay, we can move higher. All right, we've hit some lows. Bears are exhausted. We've hit some of those lows. So you just gotta be patient with it. Keep reiterating, just be patient with it. I'm going to be logging off here myself here in the next couple minutes, but I do want to make sure that I send you guys off in the right way. If you're new to the channel, I'm a faith-based individual. Everything I do is led by him and do everything according to his order. That being said, I'd like to send you guys off with prayer. I believe in praying over others, not just for myself, but praying for others. And I do believe that faith grows by hearing the word of God. Father God, thank you for today. Thank you for the patience to wait and for the decent entries we were able to find. Right now, I lift up everyone in this community who feels fear about whether to hold their position or close their positions. You see every open trade, every anxious thought, every what if running in their mind. Father, for your word says, for God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of sound mind. So Lord, we ask that the sound mind right now replace panic with peace, that it replaces confusion with clarity, replaces fear with wisdom. Father, I ask that you help us to respect our risk and our plan, not to make emotional, impulsive decisions, for us to be okay with a stopped out trade if we followed discipline. Remind us that our identity is not in this one position, not in this one day, and not in this one outcome. Our identity is in Christ. Your word also says, trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct our paths. So we acknowledge you over our trades, our strategy, and our emotions. Direct our paths as we manage these positions after the stream. If we need to cut, give us peace. If we need to hold, give us peace. Let peace be the confirmation, not fear. Lord, I ask that you cover every person here and every family they represent. Guard their minds from obsessing over the chart after we log off. Give them the rest, the balance, and perspective. Let what we learned today about patience and emotional control go deeper than any single trade. We place our entries, our exits, and our future in your hands. And we pray all this in Jesus' name. And everybody said, Amen. All right. That's how we roll here. That's how we roll. And as we depart, I will be inside the server. So if you guys are, joining here, you're not part of the server, feel free to check out the description. There's a link that's in there. It's a free server. Good information all around. There's different sections where you can have a little bit more accessibility compared to just your average spectator or straggler for that matter. There are VIP sections. Those are, again, completely free, where you have access to some educational content in there as well too. There's only one thing that you really have to do to get VIP access. It's essentially following the referral link. You follow the referral link through Bitfinex, make your deposit. You'll be upgraded inside of their exchange to VIP 3. We're running a campaign right now, so essentially you get 30% discount off of your trading fees. But that also opens up the door to where you have VIP access inside of the server. You get more real-time accessibility to myself and other traders that are in there. You'll have access to giveaways that are specific to VIP members, and you'll have access to VIP content such as educational content, things of that nature. We are going to be doing some free educational content inside there that is going to be specific for VIP. So it kind of behooves you to have VIP access inside of the server, especially if you're newer to trading, or if you're intermediate, or maybe if you just enjoy soaking yourself with educational content, things that you can lean on and make your analysis based off of that. So all that information is inside of the server. If you guys run into any snags, always feel free to reach out to me. I reply to my DMs on a regular basis. So when I hop off these streams, I'm relatively giving you guys feedback and information behind the scenes. So always feel free to reach out to me. My DMs are open. Outside of that, please be safe as you go through the remainder of the day. The next 4-hour session is about to take off here. So I do anticipate that we're going to see some moves down to the downside. If we get invalidated and we move lower than the lower low, you guys already know what those levels are. Go back and double check the stream section of our server. All of the setups are put inside there. You can actually watch the playback, so you can get an understanding as far as what the mindset was behind that, especially if you're trying to follow along as far as how I trade, what my strategies look like. You can identify what the mindset is for that. So all of that is placed there for you guys. That is not VIP access. That's just verified, making sure that you're verified inside the server. There are some roles there for you in the event that you want to see BTC setups or ETH setups or Sol setups. So all the roles are going to be inside of there. If you follow the Citadel roles section, you'll be able to identify that. Please remain profitable as we go through the remainder of the week. We did have a good start to the week. We're roughly up 42% on this challenge. I'm hoping you guys are following suit and taking the same plays that I am at. You guys should be up on your challenge. We have a little bit of a win going on here today, which is great. So our portfolio is growing little by little, little stabs here, little stabs there, but essentially compounding. If you find yourself not being profitable inside of this challenge or having difficult to follow along, please reach out to me. I'll try to guide you the best way that I know how to, so that way you do learn more. That's more important to me. And through that learning comes the discipline, and the byproduct of learning and being disciplined is being more profitable. So we're never ever going to go straight into profitability just because I took Saints trades. At that point, it just becomes, essentially gambling at the end of the day if you don't have an understanding that's behind it. So there are some individuals that do understand my strategies, and some of them may fade it. To them, more power to them. But my point behind that is that they essentially have their own strategies and their own setups in mind. I'm just really going to be a conduit to help support that idea for you. So always feel free to reach out to me in the event that you need a little bit more handholding or structured as far as guidance when it comes to some of these charts, and at least my strategies altogether. Outside of that, above all, God bless you guys. Peace be with you. I will be on here again tomorrow streaming for you guys, and I'll catch you tomorrow. Peace.